Close your eyes and try to imagine a world where politicians, corporations, and advertisers alike are trying to monitor everything that you do and say through the camera of your phone and the microphone so that they can hear you and see you, and on top of that, know exactly who you are. Open your eyes. I didn't describe to you some tinfoil hat conspiracy or some outlandish hypothetical. In fact, I explained a reality here in the United States, and it's all surrounding the umbrella of big data. What is big data? Well, big data is the massive amounts of collection that can happen in social media platforms or in services such as Netflix or Hulu. And its conception was basically to provide a service. So Netflix uses big data in order to determine, hey, what show you might like, or Spotify, that determines an artist or an album you might be interested in listening to. Or for Facebook, what advertisements might appeal to you the most. However, the ability to determine what you might like is not the dangerous part about it. In fact, big data on its own is just a collection of massive amounts of things that you did in their platform, in any platform. And so if people can get a hold of the trends of your daily life, they can also get to understand you at a personal level. And that's where it starts to become dangerous. I'm Eddie Lopez. I'm a student at Santa Fe, and I have regular worries like the finals, my GPA, and getting a degree and having a job. But on top of that, a big fear of mine is that one day my freedom of thought and my information will no longer be mine. And that's why I'm here today, to explain my case on why I think big data needs regulation now. Because if not, if we put this off, then we might run the risk of allowing companies and politicians to just take our freedom of thought and take our internet anonymity and privacy away. An instance of this actually occurs when Dr. Tripathi talks about a medical practice that's not very good on the Iranian Journal of Public Health. This practice is called secondary data analysis, in which patients agree to provide their personal medical records or any information that they give for the sake of research on one term. But then hospitals and data centers retain that information and use it in other ones without promise of anonymity. So essentially what this does is a loophole in order for people to give their information at the expense of their anonymity. And what that does is that makes people with personal track records to be exposed, or easily exposed at least. And that's not only sketchy, but it's also illegal. But it doesn't only stop at medical centers. It also happens on things that we use from day to day, say Facebook or Instagram. In fact, Professor Jay Diebert was actually looking into some of the patterns that Facebook uses in order to gather information from its users. And it's kind of terrifying. Some patents reflected how Facebook was trying to determine the model of your device based on the micro scratches of your camera lens when you took a picture. Another one that was quite frightening, according to Professor Diebert, was the use of algorithms to try to determine the electrical grid of your apartment so that they can determine your air conditioning or even your cable provider. Moreover, why we should be interested in our private data and having it to ourselves is because if we don't and it's out there, then suddenly companies can manipulate us because they know everything about us. And there's already been instances of this. In fact, Nicholas Confessor wrote in the New York Times about Cambridge Analytica and the massive manipulation that ensued because of the elections. In fact, Cambridge Analytica found a recipe to find and crack, using specific data points, what personality someone had. And so that granted them the power to directly target people for different types of propaganda. And so what that would do was it would make people go and convert out of fear. And this wasn't only an instance in the election. It also helped other countries that were doing surveillance and even terrorist groups. And Cambridge Analytica was all doing this behind the scenes. But it doesn't only happen with other corporations. In fact, even the tools that you use can make you be manipulated. You can manipulate yourself. In fact, in a Wall Street Journal article written by Kay Grind, S. Schechner, R. McMillan, and Jay West, They go in depth about how the Google search algorithm can be altered just by you searching. In fact, the Google search algorithm was designed to help you, say, if you were an engineering student, if you needed to find some equation, you probably wouldn't get it on your first try, maybe on your second or third, and then Google will be able to help get the results you need quicker. However, the flaw with that is if, let's say, you're looking into a world issue. If you are already lenient towards conservative or liberal, if you look at a resource, you might have to be pulled closer and closer and closer to the radical opposing side. So what that did was it polarized people in political groups even more, because by Google's searching algorithm, they recommend more and more and more of the same kind of information. This is also not good, especially when we're trying to create unbiased streams of information for everyone to use. So in conclusion, big data can eventually remove our thoughts from ourselves and implant fears and ideals that don't apply to us. And that's where they get bad. That's where the good, the bad, and the ugly are seen. In EU, regulation and implementation of certain frameworks are already in place, and I think that we should do the same, because I don't want to be in fear that my thoughts aren't mine, and I don't think you should either. We should fight big data. Thank you.